In this film review, I will be discussing both the novel and film adaptation of No Country for Old Men. In particular, I'll be discussing how the directors of the film adaptation incorporated the theme of fate from the book, and how both mediums deal with the element of suspense. Throughout the novel, McCarthy makes repeated references to themes of fate or destiny. In the film adaptation, Javier Bardem, who plays Chigurh's character, proves to play a crucial role in conveying these themes. Chigurh's character references fate through his obsession with coin tosses.
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss. Call it.
Call it?
Yes.
For what?
Just call it. You need to call it. I can't call it for you. Well, it wouldn't be fair. You know what date is on this coin?
No.
1958. It's been traveling 22 years to get here. And now it's here. And it's either heads or tails. And you have to say, call it. Call it. Call it. Call it.
Chigurh also embodies this idea of fate through his very demeanor. Even after Chigurh has been shot and severely wounded in the leg, he seems unfazed and simply heads to the local drugstore to steal materials with which to perform surgery on himself. As Chigurh removes his bloody clothing back at the hotel room, we see a brief look of impatience cross his face, but nothing more. It is as though he knew that fate was destined to deal him a particularly nasty blow on this day. He could not have extricated himself by an act of will, and there is nothing to be done but calmly and methodologically deal with the circumstances. We see the same impersonal attitude from Chigurh when the car he is driving is crushed by an oncoming vehicle. He does not cry out, he does not seem to be surprised, or even particularly distressed. Chigurh simply takes a brief moment to collect himself, gets out of the car as though this is nothing unusual, and limps to the side of the road. True to the novel's minimalistic nature, this film adaptation does not employ dramatic music to punctuate this scene. Instead, the sounds of birdsong in a quiet neighborhood are juxtaposed against the surprising, bloody images on the screen. After calmly securing his own broken arm in a sling, Chigurh continues on his way as if there's absolutely nothing strange or shocking about his situation. Chigurh knows that it was simply his destiny to be in exactly the wrong place at exactly the wrong moment, and who is he to second-say the world? Chigurh explicitly states his belief in fate as he's talking to Carla Jean at the end of the novel. I had no say in the matter. Every moment in your life is a turning and every one a choosing. Somewhere you made a choice, all followed to this. Later he says, and the shape of your path was visible from the beginning. Although these words are not included in the film adaptation, they apply well to this scene and explain why Chigurh's reaction to the car accident is as monotone as it is. Both the novel and film adaptation of No Country for Old Men achieve suspense through carefully crafted minimalism. In the novel, McCarthy rarely embellishes a scene with gory descriptions or burdens the narrative with a character's inner dialogue. He simply paints a blunt picture of events and lets the gravity of events speak for themselves. Because McCarthy does not reveal the inner dialogue of his characters or rely heavily on complex descriptive sentences, this novel is particularly well suited for adaptation. Most major events in the novel are action-oriented, which allows the film to be an especially accurate representation of the book. The film adaptation remains true to the novel's minimalism in more ways than one. Cormac McCarthy doesn't seem to build suspense in a conventional way, and so neither do the Coen brothers in their film adaptation. Just as McCarthy simply states the facts, the Coen brothers seem to state the facts in the film by neglecting to embellish suspenseful scenes with the dramatic music we expect. In both the book and the movie, Moss's death comes as something of a surprise. We know Moss will eventually die, but McCarthy doesn't actually show us the scene. Instead, we hear the story told by local police after the fact. Similarly, the viewer doesn't actually see the showdown between Moss and the men who kill him. In many ways, this form of delivery is more shocking and horrifying than a suspenseful build-up to the final confrontation we expect between Chigurh and Moss. The viewer isn't warned of Moss's tragic death with screeching violins or suspenseful swelling music. Instead, we are forced to face his death suddenly, in much the same way that the reader is. Both novel and film adaptation achieve success through the unique methods by which they build suspense. The simple, minimalistic delivery seems to work well in both mediums as well. Although the two stories are not exactly alike, they both elicit similar reactions from readers and effectively deliver the same themes. Regardless of whether one prefers the film or the novel version of the story better, both mediums provide an undoubtedly engaging and compelling story.
Local law enforcement.
I'm not on the radio.
I met his daughter at